I grew up in Alexandria, Virginia. I was born in San Diego, but moved to Alexandria when I was 2. It's kind of the only home that I consider mine, and very, proud to have been born and bred here in Virginia. I went to school on the West Coast. I went back out to Los Angeles for college at Cal State, and then stayed in California to work in the entertainment industry. I was in the music industry. I started working on tours and live concert productions, and was intending on staying in that industry. I became the talent buyer at BB King's in Hollywood, and our staff was so small that I ended up doing a lot of the legwork around the buyouts. Whenever we would have a movie wrap party or a corporate holiday party there in the club, I would do all of the logistics around that, and kind of fell into special events through that means, and moved back about 15 years ago to the DC area, and started looking for a job doing what I had been doing in Los Angeles, and really couldn't find one at the time. Really, the only jobs that were available in special events were hotel catering gigs, that type of work, which just was not kind of meeting the creative outlet that I had found, with the events that I had been producing in Los Angeles. And I always say that if I was any smarter or any older, I probably wouldn't have done it. But I was running out of money and needed a job. And thus RGI Events was born. And 15 years later, here we are.
Well, thank you for that origin story, and it's a lot of fun. And I got to tell you, you're in an industry now more than ever, as you know. After getting through COVID, the customer service is just imperative with everybody. And that means when you go out to a restaurant, or if you shop at a store for clothes or shoes, or if you want an event put on. And I imagine that there's pressures that go with that. So before we talk about all the capabilities and the cool things that you and your team do, I would like to ask you about your mission statement and what that is.
RGI Events connects organizations to audiences through the power of shared experiences. We draw on our decades of successes and an unshakable belief in what can be achieved when we gather together.
All right, so let's talk about capabilities, because when you're an event company, I think there's so many tentacles that you can touch when it comes to different events that it must blow your top sometimes about there's so many different opportunities out there. But if anybody that's put on a party knows how hard it is, and I know you and the 13-person team that includes yourself, Rachael, there's a lot of work to be done all the time. But with all that said, why don't we talk about some of the capabilities with the company that you work with the clients are most important, what people are requesting these days?
Yeah, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. This is an incredibly multifaceted industry. And there's a lot of nuance between what's a planner, what's a producer. The role that we fill is really taking a lot of those tentacles and bringing them all in one place for our clients. So we are strategically driven planning, production, design, and management for primarily corporate, some government, being here in the DC area, and nonprofit partners. Basically, what we aim to do is to achieve our clients' goals through treating the event as the vehicle rather than the destination. So really all aspects of the event process, from conceptualization, and setting those goals throughout the entire logistical and project management process, from your venues to your attendees, to your sponsors, to your media partners. Obviously, design, we've been broadly recognized across the country and across the world as one of the top event designers when it comes to how your room looks. And and making sure that then once everybody is in the room, making sure it strategically goes off without a hitch, and that on the backside of the special event that we're producing for you, you take away assets, that your event keeps working for you long past when the event concludes. So whether your goals are to raise money, to raise awareness, to educate, to inspire, to galvanize your team, whatever those end goals are for your particular organization, whatever type of organization it might be, we use our strategic special events expertise to make sure you achieve those.
We had talked off the top that, including you, it's a 13-person team that you have. And to relate a story to you with context, my wife and I went to a Washington Spirit game over the weekend, and we watched the on-field coordinator basically handle everything when it came to pregame before they kicked the ball to start the game. And my wife and I were remarking, and I'm in sports too, so I've seen these people. The communication that you need to do something like that is incredible. And I throw it at you for you and your 13-person team that includes you. I imagine communication is utmost a top priority, but maybe if you could take it to the next level, give us a behind the curtain kind of scene what it's like when it comes to communication with your clients about what all that entails.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Communication is a pillar of our project management style. We want our clients to feel as though we are just at the next desk. And this is not, a post-COVID or a COVID-inspired, new way of working ethos. This is always, for the last 15 years with clients flung to the far sides of the country and all over the globe, how we work with our clients. We, I think, are very unique in that we bring a really very highly recognized and sophisticated level of production to our clients with a boutique style client management. We see ourselves very much in the business of hospitality, in the business of customer service. And we want our clients to get that responsiveness from us as though, we were just in the next room rather than across the country or across an ocean. So, it's key. There's a lot of trust that you have to have. Special events are kind of intangible, right? It's, you might bring on a production partner for an effort that you might have going on 9 months in the future and say, this is our goal and here is our budget, and you might write me a check and I'm off to the races, but I'm not handing you back something that you can hold. You're going to be on this ride with me for the next 9 months or 6 months or 3 months until we bring it across the finish line. So we want every single second, of our relationship, our interactions with our clients. And it's through that thorough, enthusiastic communication to paint this picture of the end product they're going to get and to build that trust. And that's one of the reasons why our client retention rate is so high. We have held an over 80% client retention rate year over year for over the last decade. So I really think that people come to us, for our talent, but stay with us a lot for what you just said, that communication aspect.
Well, thanks for sharing all that. And that's about customer service. And I know that means a lot, especially in today's climate where we're at. Rachel, I did want to ask you about challenges and success stories. Let's put a pin in success stories just for a second. You can think about that. But I know that today's climate brings a lot of challenges with that. And with all that said, being a boutique agency like you are when it comes to RGI events, what kind of challenges, even though you can get through them and navigate, present themselves today with your clients?
I'm sure our challenges closely mirror what a lot of other businesses are going through at the moment. Supply chains are less reliable. Costs are higher. So there's a lot of communication. It's up to us to manage our clients' expectations, about things like turnaround time or how much things are going to cost. Events that are annual events who maybe have worked with us for the last 10 years, we might have a completely different budget, these days to put on the exact same event. I think that customers and consumers, in an attendee base are also far more savvy. They have so much information, at their fingertips, and us living in kind of this, the age of the influencer, they also are bombarded by these amazing, images. And so I think their sophistication, is very high. They expect a really high level of execution and work product. And to balance that with, any client's budget, I think is also always, a challenge that we navigate through authentic, timely and transparent communication, and leaning on our expertise, in our relationships in the industry, and what those relationships enable us to be able to get for our clients faster or at a lower price point, than maybe a newer company or one that hasn't enjoyed kind of the successes that RGI has.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing all that. And as Rachael mentioned, I mean, when it comes to life and running a business like this, so eloquently, as you explained, there aren't a lot of rainbows and unicorns all the time when it comes to this type of business. But with that said, I would like you to share maybe one success story that you were proud of. You don't have to mention who the client was, but maybe just something you said, you know what, we really knocked it out of the park for that client. It was pretty special, and we're pretty proud of what we did.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. One of the things I love most about this industry, and I think the reason that, I'm still in it after 20 years, is that there really is a lot of job satisfaction. The road is not smooth, but when you get to the end of it, truly making an impact that we have made for titans of industry, for some of the most well-known nonprofits in the world, is really something that I am very proud of. We say a lot here that, we may not be the ones to change the world, but we will build the ones that will change it a stage. Literally. And over the last 15 years, we have supported raising over $1 billion for our nonprofit clients, in their fundraisers throughout the years of our 15 years in business. And I think that is not a small drop in the bucket. And I'm pretty darn proud of that for sure.
In my series, Rachael, I've had the opportunity to talk to so many smart, talented women like yourself that are now running companies or at a managerial role that's very prominent. And as you as principal and creative director, we have a lot of women that are listening to this series. And if you were to impart any advice on coming up the system, whether they want to be a CEO, an executive director, principal, or at a managerial level, impart some advice for our female listeners out there about your experiences, and maybe just some advice that there are going to be challenges. There's going to be some doors open and closed, but not necessarily your specific experiences, but just maybe some advice in general for them.
I think that's so important. And it has always been really important for me throughout my journey of being a business owner, to take part as much as possible in opportunities to mentor women, and speak to and encourage women on their own journeys. I think that one of the most helpful things that I may be able to impart to other women is to trust yourself and to lean into the things that make a leadership coming from a woman different than leadership that may come from a man. Don't, run from the aspects that, you don't have to fit into any specific mold. Lean into your own talents and your own strengths. Diverse leadership is good leadership. And trust yourself. Don't second guess yourself. The mistakes that I find that I have made along the way were mostly made in times where I second guessed my gut instinct. And it really is not easy. But if you commit yourself to, seeing the path in front of you and then walking down the path, you'll make it. I promise.
That's really good advice, and there's also a common theme, listeners, that Rachel's talked about that we hear regularly from our leaders, and if I could read the tea leaves and what she's saying, leap of faith. As an entrepreneur, you really have to take a leap of faith in these situations. Even though it's scary, just go for it. There's going to be some failing down there, but you know what? At the end, if you're driven enough and if you're passionate enough, like Rachel and her team are, you're going to get there. So, Rachel, I think that's great advice, and thank you for sharing all that. I did want to take a little bit of break from the business and ask you about philanthropic and charity work. I know that in the events business, it's 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year. So I know that there's not a lot of time for sleep, and also doing some charity work. But whether it's through the business or maybe you personally with your family, what do you like to be a part of?
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, I really do jump at any chance that I've had to support women in business. And I have been very active in our local community and associations and organizations over the years as a board member or chairing events specifically to empower and support and educate, women in their business journey. I'm also, as I said, a really proud Alexandria native. I grew up and now live on the original 5 farms of George Washington's Mount Vernon. I live now, I just back up right to the mansion. And the mission and the preservation of Mount Vernon and of the legacy of George Washington is very important to me. And we do a lot of work, my husband and I, as fundraisers and patrons of various causes at George Washington's Mount Vernon, as well as for some of the land preservation, in the state of Virginia in general, and to be good stewards of our natural resources, especially in this beautiful state. So, yes, there's not a ton of time for it, but I think it is really, really important to kind of find those causes that you're passionate about and make sure that, you spread the success around a bit.
Wow, I think that's so cool. I happen to be a history buff, and this is my 4th time living in the DMV, and I think that people take for granted the history that we have around us, and you're living right on it, which I think is really cool that you and your husband do that. So that's wonderful, and thank you for sharing. As we put a bow on our conversation and wrap up, a lot of fun talking about RGI events, Rachel, if you were to give our listener one takeaway about what exactly RGI events is, what would that be?
Passionate strategists. I think we really have made a mark and differentiated ourselves. There are a lot of, fabulous special event resources here in the district and across the country. I think what makes us different is that we truly do obsess our clients' brands. We want to act just as passionately to achieve our clients' goals as our clients are. And I think through our strategic mindset of the power that we know can be harnessed in these opportunities where you can bring a group of people into a room and affect change or inspire or educate. I know that we do that, we're better than almost anybody in the country. That's
a good sales pitch, and I love that, and confidence, too. You got to have a little chip on your shoulder, folks. That's what it's all about, especially when you're running a boutique business and there's competition out there. So, Rachel, if anybody is interested in working with you, maybe a career or just finding more about RGI events, what's the website and any other social channels you'd like to give out?
Absolutely. You can find us online at www.rgievents.com. And we're super active on Instagram at RGI Events. We do a lot of posting behind the scenes. So you can get a feel for a little bit of the mechanics behind the magic, which is always a lot of fun. And that's where we are on Facebook as well, is at RGI Events.
Outstanding. And I know you know this, but for our listeners, I've been on the website. And in the event business, you better have a great presentation. Your website is gorgeous and easy to navigate. So whoever's putting it together has done a very nice job. It's a really good-looking website.
Oh, thank you, Dennis. That's amazing.
Well, cool. Well, listen, Rachel, continued success. Give my best to your team there. And thank you so much for joining us today on CEOs You Should Know. We really appreciate it.
I sure will. Thank you, Dennis.